The tattoo on his wrist, a small constellation of stars forming the Big Dipper, was barely visible beneath his expensive watch. But Lily noticed it immediately as she refilled his coffee cup. Her heart stopped. She'd seen that exact tattoo before, in the same place, on her mother's wrist. The mother who had always refused to talk about Lily's father. The mother who had raised her alone in their small apartment above the diner where Lily now worked. Before she could stop herself, the words tumbled out, "My mother has the same tattoo as you." The man looked up, his steel-gray eyes widening in shock. And that's when everything changed. If you're wondering what happens next in this unexpected encounter, stay with me until the end. This story might just change how you see fate and family forever. If you enjoy emotional family reunions and second chances, please hit that like button and subscribe to see more stories that touch the heart. 20 years earlier, James Harrington had been just Jimmy, a brilliant but broke engineering student with dreams bigger than his bank account. He'd fallen madly in love with Anna, a beautiful art student who worked nights at a local cafe. They were young, passionate, and certain they would conquer the world together. The matching tattoos had been Anna's idea, a symbol of how they would always find their way back to each other, just like sailors navigating by the stars. But life had other plans. When Jimmy's revolutionary battery design caught the attention of a major tech company, he was offered the opportunity of a lifetime, a fully funded research position in Tokyo. It meant leaving everything behind for at least 2 years, but Anna had insisted he go. "We'll make it work," she'd promised. "This is your dream." The night before his departure, they'd argued. Anna had seemed distant, holding something back. Jimmy had been too caught up in his own anxieties about leaving to notice the fear in her eyes. They'd parted with harsh words, both too stubborn to apologize. He'd called from Tokyo repeatedly for weeks, but Anna never answered. Eventually, her number was disconnected. When he returned to their old apartment 2 years later, flush with success but empty with regret, she was long gone. No forwarding address. No goodbye note. Nothing. Now, 20 years later, James Harrington was no longer Jimmy. He was the billionaire founder of Harrington Energy Solutions, a company revolutionizing sustainable energy storage worldwide. He had wealth, power, and influence, everything except the one thing money couldn't buy, family. He'd never married, never had children. The hole Anna had left remained unfilled, though he'd buried it beneath work and achievement. Lily stood frozen, coffee pot still tilted in her hand, as the man, James, stared at her with an intensity that made her uncomfortable. "Your mother," he finally said, his voice carefully controlled. "What's her name?" "Anna. Anna Mitchell." Lily watched as all color drained from his face. James set down his cup with a shaking hand. "How old are you?" "I turned 20 in August," Lily replied, suddenly understanding the implication of his question. Her birthday was exactly 9 months after James would have left for Tokyo. The diner around them continued its normal breakfast rush, the clatter of plates, the hum of conversation, the sizzle of bacon on the grill, but for James and Lily, time seemed to stop. "I need to meet her," James said, his voice barely audible over the diner noise. Lily's protective instincts flared. "My mother worked 3 jobs to raise me alone. She never asked for anything from anyone. If you're who I think you might be, you don't just get to walk back into her life because you're curious." James nodded slowly, respect flickering in his eyes. "You're right. I'm sorry. It's just," he paused, collecting himself. "I never knew. I swear I never knew." Lily studied him carefully. The man before her was clearly powerful, accustomed to getting his way. But there was something else there too, a vulnerability, a longing that seemed genuine. She made a decision. She works at the hospital now. Nursing school at night, shifts during the day. She'll be home around 7. Lily scribbled an address on her order pad and tore off the page. "Don't hurt her again. James took the paper as if it were made of glass. I won't. Thank you. That evening, James sat in his luxury car outside the modest apartment building where Anna apparently lived with their daughter. Their daughter. The concept was still impossible to grasp. For 20 years, he'd built an empire, changed the world with his innovations, but he'd missed the most important creation of all, a child. His child. He'd spent the day in a daze, canceling meetings and researching everything he could about Anna Mitchell. She'd become a practical nurse after Lily was born, working her way up while raising a child alone. Now, at 45, she was finally in nursing school, pursuing the dream she'd put on hold for 2 decades. The more he learned, the more his admiration grew, and the more his guilt deepened. At precisely 7:15 p.m., a woman turned the corner, walking slowly as if her feet ached from a long day. Her hair was different, shorter, with strands of gray she didn't bother to hide, but James would have recognized her anywhere. Anna. His Anna. He stepped out of the car, and she stopped mid-stride, the grocery bag in her arms nearly slipping from her grasp. Jimmy, she whispered, using a name no one had called him in 20 years. Hello, Anna. His voice cracked despite his best efforts. She looked from him to his expensive car and back again. You found us. Not exactly. I was having breakfast at Mel's diner this morning when a waitress noticed my tattoo. He pushed back his sleeve, revealing the constellation that matched hers. Understanding dawned in Anna's eyes. Lily. James nodded. She has your eyes. Anna clutched her grocery bag tighter. Why are you here, James? After all this time? Because I just found out I have a daughter. The words hung in the air between them, heavy with 2 decades of absence. Anna's face hardened. You left. For Tokyo. For 2 years. Not forever. You disappeared, Anna. I came back for you. I was 23 and pregnant. I called your parents, and they told me you were engaged to some Japanese executive's daughter. That you were never coming back. James felt as if he'd been punched. What? That's not, I never, he stopped, the pieces suddenly fitting together. His parents had never approved of Anna, had seen her as a distraction from his potential. They'd wanted him to marry into the Nakamura family for the business connections. They lied to you. And to me. They told me you'd moved on, that you didn't want to hear from me anymore. Anna's eyes filled with tears. I wrote you letters. Dozens of them. They always came back marked return to sender. James leaned against his car, suddenly unsteady. 20 years of separation based on lies and manipulation. 20 years of Lily growing up without a father. 20 years they could never get back. I'm so sorry, he whispered. If I had known about Lily. Would it have made a difference? Anna challenged. You were building your empire. A baby and a girlfriend from your past wouldn't have fit into that plan. They would have been the plan, James said with such conviction that Anna fell silent. Everything else would have worked around you both. They stood there on the sidewalk, 2 people who had once known each other better than anyone else in the world, now strangers connected by a daughter and a constellation of stars inked on their wrists. Come upstairs, Anna finally said. Lily will be home from her evening class soon. We have a lot to talk about. The apartment was small but immaculately kept. Photos of Lily through the years covered one wall, a visual timeline of all the moments James had missed. First steps. First day of school. Dance recitals. Graduation. He stood before them, absorbing each image, trying to retroactively insert himself into a life that had proceeded without him. She's amazing, he said softly. Yes, she is. Anna set down her groceries. She's smart like you. Got a full scholarship to state for engineering, but she's working to cover living expenses. Refuses to take loans. Pride and sorrow battled within James. She shouldn't have to work so hard. I could. Don't. Anna's voice was sharp. Don't think you can just throw money at 20 years of absence. James turned to face her. I'm not trying to buy forgiveness, Anna. But she's my daughter too. Let me help her. Before Anna could respond, the front door opened, and Lily walked in. She froze when she saw James standing in their living room. You actually came, she said, surprise evident in her voice. I did. James felt suddenly awkward, unsure how to act around this young woman who was half him. Lily looked between her mother and James. Have you two talked? Anna nodded. We've started to. There's a lot to process. Lily set down her backpack and crossed her arms. So. Are you really my father? James met her gaze steadily. Yes. Though I didn't know until today. I would have been here otherwise. Every day. Lily studied him with the same analytical gaze he often saw in the mirror. Why should I believe you? Lily, Anna began, but James held up a hand. It's a fair question. He turned back to Lily. You shouldn't believe me just because I say so. But I hope you'll give me the chance to prove it. Not with money or things, but with time. With being here now. Lily's tough exterior cracked slightly. I used to make up stories about you when I was little. Mom would tell me you were brilliant and kind, but that you had to go away. I imagined you were a secret agent or an astronaut. James smiled sadly. I'm sorry I wasn't there to tell you bedtime stories myself. Well, Billionaire inventor is pretty cool too, Lily admitted with a small smile that transformed her face, making her look suddenly younger and more vulnerable. The three of them sat at the small kitchen table, the beginning of a conversation 20 years overdue. James learned about Lily's engineering projects, her dreams of developing affordable prosthetics, her struggle to balance school and work. Anna spoke of her nursing studies, her hope to eventually work in pediatric care. James shared stories of his early days building his company, the failures that preceded his success, the emptiness that had haunted him despite his achievements. As the night progressed, the initial tension began to ease. Not disappear, there was too much lost time for that, but soften around the edges. When Lily yawned around midnight, Anna suggested they continue another day. I'm staying at the Grand downtown, James said, standing to leave. I've cleared my schedule for the next week. I'd like to see you both again. If that's okay. Lily nodded. I have tomorrow afternoon off. I could make lunch, Anna offered tentatively. James felt a surge of hope. I'd like that very much. At the door, he hesitated, then pulled a business card from his wallet and wrote his personal number on the back. Anytime. Day or night. I mean it. As he drove back to his hotel, James felt a strange mixture of grief and joy. He had missed so much, his daughter's entire childhood, and nothing could ever recover those lost years. But she was here now. They both were. And perhaps there was still time to build something new. The next morning, James woke early and made a series of calls. First to his executive team, extending his absence indefinitely. Then to his lawyer, setting up a trust for Lily that would provide for her education and future without making her dependent on his wealth. And finally, to a real estate agent, inquiring about properties near the university where Lily studied. He wasn't naive enough to think money could solve everything, but he was determined to remove the financial burdens that had shaped Anna and Lily's lives. Not as a replacement for his absence, but as a foundation upon which they could build a relationship without the stress of survival hanging over them. When he arrived at their apartment for lunch, he brought no expensive gifts, just a bouquet of daisies, Anna's favorite from their college days, and a vintage engineering textbook he thought Lily might appreciate. Small gestures, personal rather than extravagant. Lunch was simple, sandwiches and soup, but the conversation flowed more easily than the night before. Lily peppered James with questions about his work, her natural engineering mind quickly grasping concepts that most of his executive team struggled to understand. Anna watched them with a mixture of wonder and caution, as if afraid to believe this reconnection could last. "I have something to ask both of you," James said as they finished eating. "I know this is sudden, and I don't expect an immediate answer, but I'd like you to consider it." Anna tensed slightly. "What is it?" Lily mentioned she's working on a prosthetics project for her engineering program. "My company has a research division that could provide resources, equipment, mentorship. I'd like to offer her an internship, a real one, not a nepotism placement. Based on her own merit." Lily's eyes widened. "Are you serious? Your labs have the most advanced fabrication technology in the country." "I am serious. But," he added, looking at Anna, "I understand if you think it's too soon or too complicated." Anna was quiet for a moment. It should be Lily's decision. She's earned any opportunity that comes her way. Lily looked between them. "I'd want to earn my place. No special treatment." James nodded. "Absolutely. You'd work under Dr. Chen, who doesn't know you're my daughter and wouldn't care if she did. She only respects talent." "Then yes," Lily said, excitement breaking through her usual reserve. "I'd love that opportunity." The internship became the bridge that connected their fractured family. 3 days a week, Lily worked in the Harrington labs, her natural talent quickly earning the respect of the research team. James made a point of being present but not hovering, available for guidance but never imposing his authority. Anna was more cautious in rebuilding their connection. The pain of their separation had shaped 2 decades of her life, and trust didn't return overnight. But slowly, over coffee meetings and quiet dinners, they began to rediscover each other as the adults they had become, rather than the young lovers they had been. 6 months after their reunion, James approached Anna with another proposal. Her nursing program was demanding, and working hospital shifts alongside her studies was taking a visible toll. "I'd like to establish a scholarship fund at your nursing school," he said carefully. "Not just for you, for working parents returning to education. But it would include a stipend. And you've done an amazing job. But you don't have to do everything alone anymore." James hesitated. "Think of all the other single parents you could help with a program like this." That argument reached her. Anna had seen too many talented classmates drop out because they couldn't balance work, school, and family. "If it helps others too, not just me, I could consider it." The scholarship became reality, helping dozens of parents complete their education. Anna graduated at the top of her class and accepted a position in pediatric care at the university hospital, a job she took based on merit, not connection, though James couldn't help beaming with pride at her pinning ceremony. Lily thrived in the research environment, her prosthetics project evolving into a promising new division within Harrington Energy. By her senior year, she had 2 patents pending and had presented at international conferences. She maintained her independence, living in her own apartment and insisting on earning her achievements, but she no longer rejected James's presence in her life. The most significant change came gradually, in quiet moments rather than grand gestures. Sunday dinners became a tradition. James learned to cook Anna's favorite meals. Lily taught him about the music and movies he'd missed during his workaholic years. Anna began to smile more easily in his presence, the old wounds slowly healing. On Lily's 21st birthday, James hosted a small celebration at his new home, a comfortable house near the university, not the mansion his wealth could have afforded. As they sat on the patio after dinner, Lily presented them both with small wrapped packages. "What's this?" Anna asked, surprised. "Just open it," Lily said, suddenly shy. Inside each box was a delicate silver bracelet. On James's, a small charm hung beside the clasp, a perfect replica of their shared tattoo, the Big Dipper constellation. Anna's bracelet held the same charm. I have one too, Lily said, showing her wrist where an identical bracelet rested. I thought, well, I'm too scared of needles for a real tattoo, but I wanted something that connected the three of us. James felt his throat tighten with emotion. It's perfect. Anna slipped her bracelet on beside her faded tattoo, tears in her eyes. When did you get so wise? Lily shrugged, embarrassed by their emotion. I just thought it was time we all had the same stars to navigate by.